Hello fellow gamers, Kelly here to share with you some thoughts about the new Doom and maybe help you answer the question of whether or not the game's single player campaign is worth the $70 you've been saving up for the past 2 decades. That wasn't a misspell on my part, by the way, you heard me right. The single player campaign is what you're paying for and what you've probably been looking forward to. It has a multiplayer and a map creator, but it's not what will get your juices flowing. Anyway, I will follow the usual format explaining what I liked and disliked and try to draw some sort of conclusion at the end. So, staying true to the order of things, I will start with the world building. This Doom is a reboot, right? Right? Well, yes and no. It is a reboot and you would be perfectly fine for playing it as such, but there's a lot of lore and background knowledge scattered around in the form of codex entries and datapads which give you information about the technology, weapons, facilities, and characters of the story, and hint to the possibility that Doomguy could be something more than just a dude who receives a weapon and gets pointed in the right direction. In other words, it breathes a little more life into the game's world. It's not going to win any awards, but I enjoyed it nonetheless, and I believe it's an interesting reward for the completionist or explorer out there, in case you wanted something more than just taking in the sights when exploring the gorgeous levels, which very much follow the maze-like design of the original Doom. But this time they expand into greater verticality and have more open-world areas. The environment is built and shaped in a plausible manner, it's fun to navigate, and you may find yourself taking advantage of those moments of respite to backtrack and make sure you didn't miss anything. Not everything is built to be realistic, but it's good enough to be believable. The maps are not without their dangers, however, and it's best to watch your step to avoid an involuntary but bloody demise, especially during the fast-paced and merciless combat, which borrows much of its run-and-gun action from the original Doom games we all know and love. Being able to jump and climb ledges adds a new level of strategy deepened by the glory kills which reward you for playing offensively, dropping health pickups to keep you in the fight for as long as possible. Swapping to the right weapon for the right enemy at the right time can be tough, but the time-slowing weapon wheel can deliver some breathing room in a pinch, and if you're running low on ammo you can always resort to the brutally efficient chainsaw, capable of killing almost anything in a single hit, assuming you have enough fuel. Combat and the collectibles gained from exploration both contribute to rewarding you with points and tokens you can use to improve and upgrade your armor and weapons, which is another element where I think the game shines. Most weapons will eventually come to have 2 add-ons. Each changes the behavior of the weapon to suit a particular playstyle or combat taste, and each must be upgraded individually, with each improvement growing more and more expensive. The final step to gaining complete mastery over a weapon always comes in the form of a challenge, which varies depending on the playstyle and add-on you have chosen to go for. It is possible to fully upgrade both add-ons for a weapon, and yes, you can swap add-ons on the fly during combat if you wish. Armor upgrades are less spectacular, but still contribute greatly towards improving your survival, allowing you, for example, to invest in reducing the damage from hazards and explosions, swap weapons and add-ons faster, or carry more ammunition and increase your health and armor pool. There's an argument we could start about whether or not an upgrade system should be in a Doom game, but keep in mind, nobody is forcing you to upgrade anything or use any weapon add-ons at all if you don't wish to do so. The system is merely in place to allow you to tailor your gameplay experience to suit your taste. If that involves making the game as hard on yourself as possible, then by all means, be my guest. Now that we've detailed the parts of the game that I liked, let's move on to the ones that I didn't like, starting with the fact that the game suffers from inconsistencies, some worse than others, where, for example, you would fail to grab onto ledges otherwise perfectly within reach, or fail to jump over obstacles that would otherwise be a bump on the road in any other area of the same map or even the same room. Even the armor suffers from this, occasionally failing to compensate for irrelevant falling damage resulting in very frustrating, inexplicable deaths. But while these are minor issues, the most annoying culprit by far here is the presence of invisible walls, cunningly placed where you would otherwise enjoy the illusion of freedom of movement in an open world area. There is nothing that pisses me off more than trying to jump across a chasm only to be stopped in midair for no reason and fall to my death. Try that shit on hardcore difficulty where death is permanent and ends your campaign, and tell me if it's funny. Never expect to be able to reach your destination, even if you can see it and it would be perfectly within range. Other times, the invisible walls even fail in their duty though, so don't be surprised if you happen to fall through the floor or pass through an actual wall and end up dying outside the map. The game also becomes predictable and repetitive, a mechanic of funnels leading to an arena which in turn leads into another funnel towards another arena where you will face waves of increasingly stronger enemies until you've cleared the area and the lockdown is lifted, allowing you to move on. The level design doesn't always physically reflect this pacing, but in time you will learn to recognize when you're about to step into such an arena. There's just nothing quite like developing that kind of sixth sense to spoil the mood. Speaking of spoiling the mood, let's ask the big question: is it worth its money? I have to say, no. It is a good game, don't get me wrong. I liked it and I enjoyed playing it, but even if you factor in the map creator and the multiplayer, there's just not enough there to account for the price tag. It plays like a Doom, it feels like a Doom, but in a way, it's not Doom. It doesn't break any new ground, and I miss how the old games made you fight for every step. This reboot merely keeps you somewhat busy with the occasional cannon fodder between one arena and the next, where you'll once more be faced with waves of enemies appearing out of thin air. It had my heart racing, but it left me with a slightly bitter aftertaste, and on that note I will end this video. If you enjoyed it and found it helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, feel free to give it a thumbs down. If you're interested in more random gaming content, please consider subscribing if you haven't done so already, and if there's anything you wish to share or have constructive criticism, feel free to leave a comment below. Until next time, happy gaming.